Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back, and we got a little podcast off the cuff here today. And these are one of my favorite types of podcasts to do, where we're just vibing today. A little bit of reheating of the nachos from Summer of Survivor. I said, hey, why don't we do a podcast of the times Survivor seasons started a little slow and got good, maybe putting out into the universe, maybe manifesting a very exciting second half of the Survivor season, while still acknowledging it's been a little slow to get out of the gate. And here with us, a man who once famously was slow to get out of the gate, it's Brandon Donlon.
Wow. How you introduce your guests. It is true. It's not incorrect. But
look
one
at
thing
you now, you're flying.
We're here. Nobody else. I'm looking around. I don't see anybody else here.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to. The only thing I like talking about more than current Survivor is old Survivor, and we're going to talk about a lot of it.
So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about 6 times. We were going to talk about 5 times. I said, wait, let's get the alliteration. 6 slow starts for Survivor, and we'll talk about 6 different times. I have a list of 6. Brandon has a list of 6. We're gonna give our lists. I'm sure there'll be some overlap. We'll come away with the definitive list of these 6 times Survivor started off slow, as we are getting ready for tomorrow night, when we will get into episode number 5, potentially the final pre-merge episode of Survivor 49. And Brandon, I saw we just posted, we've got a big week on the podcast coming up.
We've got 2 people that I love a lot, that I loved watching, and that I'm going to love having talked to you, which is Star from season 48 of Survivor. Star cannot be tagged in photos on Twitter, but I did tag Starbase48, so at least they'll share it on behalf of us. And Sydney from Survivor 32 Co-Wrong.
Wow.
Who, as far as I'm aware, doesn't talk about Survivor ever in any medium. So we're thrilled.
And she's been watching this season, or we don't know?
It is unclear. I do not believe so, but she's very excited to chat. So it's like, good. Whatever, maybe she caught up,
I had a great interview with Sydney following Survivor Co-Wrong. It was like an hour long. It was a very, a precursor to the medium dive, and had a good chat with her after the season. Have longed to get her back onto the podcast by way of talking with T-Bird. So very excited that we finally have the opportunity now.
Yeah, it's funny. In DMing with her, she said, "You know what? F it, I'm in." She didn't say F it. She said the whole word, but she said, "You know what? F it, I'm in."
Okay.
So it'll be great. People love it. People are very excited. I saw on Twitter.
All right. So let's turn our attention back to Survivor 49, and really why this is in my head is that it was Jeff who really put the bug in our ear, speaking of Survivor Co-Wrong, that this is going to be a season that starts slow, but he said it's going to get good. Okay? Trust me, it's going to get good. And so I think that so far, Jeff has not told any lies. I think it has been a slowish start. I mean, even for a season with a guy who got bit by a snake, kind of uneventful.
Yeah. But not bad, which I think there is a distinction between a season that starts bad, like, and unlikable and not fun, rather than a season that is just kind of middling. It's like nothing.
Do you want to define here up front what we think has made it a slow start, or do you feel like that's sort of like already reported story?
I mean, it is reported, but even the seasons that I looked for and the seasons that I imagine you looked for, like, I'm looking for strings of episodes where nothing really happens. It's unremarkable. It's not great, and it's not bad. I think a lot of people have cited, and I'm curious to see, just to call out season 46, if that ends up on your list. It is not on mine, because I do think while the stretch of the pre-merge of season 46 is like not great Survivor, it is, I'm going back interested every week because it is so quote unquote like bad. I'm so like, this is crazy. This is happening on Survivor. I can't wait to see it be elevated next week. Whereas the seasons that I have on this list are just kind of fine. It's like one of the seasons that you could forget is on from week to week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that in mind, then let's not cannibalize too much of our list by talking about what makes it a bad or boring season, and maybe we'll have different criteria. All right, so let's go back and forth. Too soon for snake draft?
I'll do a snake draft.
It's not a draft because we're not drafting them. We're going to start from 6. We're going from 6 to 1.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like, it's like basically your honorable mention here.
This is my honorable mention. This is not one of my. This is my 6th.
6th, yeah. I mean, it's really a list of 5 and an honorable mention.
Sure. Okay. Well, then I'll go
a dishonorable mention.
A dishonorable. I'll go the season that I enjoy the least that I have on this list. I'll make my honorable mention, and that would be Survivor 26. Caramoan is my slow start, because I mean the fans tribe on season 26, Caramoan, is mind-numbingly boring. I think you have some stars on the first fans tribe.
No, that's on season 48.
You have and this week you're on the podcast. There are not a ton of stars on the favorite or the fans tribe rather on season 26, and you spend a lot of time with them, given that they do lose the first couple in immunity challenges. Whereas you have this favorites tribe who, jury's out on, even if they were favorites in season 26. That was a big people are like, these are the favorites. But you don't even see them the first 4 or 5 episodes because we are so on this fans tribe that we end up not really caring about, not only throughout the story, but in Survivor history.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have this on my list, and I don't know if I should spoil this or not, but I'll tell you that this, because it's going to be anticlimactic later when we get there. I have this as my number 1. I think this is the slowest start in Survivor history in a season that turned out good. And I'll tell you all the reasons why. I think that there are going to be some common themes that go on here. And I think that we have one tribe that ends up being kind of unlikable, with all due respect to Snowy and Matt Bischoff and all the chillers.
And
Reynolds,
we know you're listening.
Yes. Eddie and Hope and Allie and all of the, the fun people that are there. It ends up being a tribe that is, you're not really rooting for them. They keep going back to back to back to tribal council. You have everything that's going on with Shamar, and Shamar is sort of like, and I'm sure you could revisit the season and say, was Shamar treated unfairly, potentially? But no matter what, you can revisit that season as many times as you want. You cannot go back and find the fun in the first half of Survivor Caramoan. Not to mention, meanwhile, on the other side of things, with the returning players, you have everything that's going on with Brandon Hance, and that whole side of that he's having like some kind of manic episode. He is threatening to destroy the tribe. He's going to pee in the beans and pee in the rice.
Yes.
There's a lot of Philip.
A lot of Philip.
Yeah.
A lot of Philip and Brandon together, which equals double not fun.
So to me, I can't really think of a incredible moment. It's also a pre-merge that goes on for quite some time, even post Brandon Hance. You feel like, okay, it's over after Brandon Hance, and then you get a couple of sleepy tribal councils where I think Matt goes home and Julia goes home, and maybe there's even like another one where it's not really that it picks up, and maybe you could argue and say, hey, Caramoan never gets good. I don't like it. So it shouldn't be, because there are seasons where it has a slow start and then has a slow second half, and you could say it never gets good. I do think that Caramoan is interesting in the second half, and there was a lot of excitement. Cochran was a fun winner. I was podcasting during the real time. There's everything that goes on with the three amigos tribal council, and you can say whether or not the Dawn taking out her teeth was fun, but it was iconic. Cochran, an unlikely winner, wins 4 immunity challenges. So I had Caramoan as number 1 for the slowest start.
Wow. I didn't even have mine ranked, but mine would have been, I just arbitrarily ranked just now, and I would have had it as 6. I think it's my least favorite season that I put here. But it is fun at the end. It's fun once you have the Philip, the idol debacle, the hold up bro is a different moment than the Philip. People conflate those two, but you have hold up bro. Did I say
hold up bro? Or is it
no, people just in general. Yeah. I know I see those two things. It's like a Mandela effect of Survivor. But you have the hold up bro, you have Philip, you have the three amigos, and then I think it's
Hold
fun
Up
after
Bro
that.
is from the tribal council where Michael Snow gets voted out.
Snowy. Lost to history, Snowy. He used to be around. He was in New York City. He went to all the stuff. But you don't have I think also people in the real time were measuring this up against the first fans versus favorites, which I think people really admired at that time and even still, obviously, and it just did not hold a candle to it.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my number 1. Your number 6. We'll have to at some point see if we can come to an agreement with all this.
I'm excited. I mean, it's a good sign that we both have it.
Yes.
So that's
why is it so low? Why am I too high on it being the best slow start season?
So I think that when given the assignment of like slow season that ends great, I think all of the seasons that I have higher up on my list end greater. Like I enjoyed the ending of those more than I enjoyed the ending of Caramoan. The ending of Caramoan is good, but I think the 5 seasons that I have they end with a bigger impact, and there's a vast difference in between the bad to the good.
It was just so bleak.
It was bleak. Yeah. The Brandon's tough. Whenever I see on Reddit like a Reddit comment that is like Brandon is unstable and unfit to play Survivor, I'm like, oh, could be anybody. It's not a surefire for your boy. So thank you, Brandon Hance, if you're listening for that, and I know you are.
All right. Let me give you my number 6 of seasons that had a slow start and then got better. I'm going to go talk about different Hance. I'm going to talk about, how about season 19, Survivor Samoa? And I have it as an honorable mention because I do feel like that in the real time, there was some intrigue around Russell being sort of like a breakout character. And I think that there was all this promotion around Russell, and he was doing some interesting things like burning the socks. And there was like a real, like earnest fan base of Russell Hance and people who liked watching him play. But he was part of a tribe that was repeatedly going to tribal council. And it was also a season of very bleak weather. And I do think that that is a turn off for the viewer when everybody is just sort of like huddled in the shelter, freezing cold, soaking wet. Like, that's not fun to watch. And then on top of that, you have everything with, you got medical evacuations with Mike Barassi. You've got also everything, all of the racism with the outlaw Ben Browning.
Yeah. Unreported story too. People don't cite that. Like, it's crazy that happened on Survivor. It's like you see viral TikToks of like the big Survivor controversial moments, and that is seldom ever, never come across that. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah. You want to see that talked about more?
I don't need to see it. It's just crazy that it's like lost to history, which maybe is a testament to why it should be on.
You know what? I
think
like that what happened is I think it probably was dealt with pretty well, like on the show, and it was like one of the earlier times that something that was like bad behavior was called out by both Jason. I'm trying to remember how Jeff handled it. I think that you probably would see it more if it was something that was, if Ben Browning is being racist and Jeff was being like, hey, what a character. I think if it was handled poorly, I think that it would be like, can't believe this happened on Survivor. So I think that it was like, for the most part, I think even Russell was like, hey, I'm not down with this.
Yeah. It's interesting. This did not make it onto my list. It's not in my top 5. And I think it is because in my head, I remember those first couple episodes being so fun and novel because of Russell being there. I even think that the more boring tribe of the two is the Galu tribe, who you are like seldom with because you're with Foa so much. So I do feel like it paced well enough. I think the past evacuation, past Ben Browning, I think the Ashley Trainer episode is probably a sleeper. I think the Liz Kim episode.
Well, I think that Liz Kim goes home, and then I think there's a non-elimination, or the Russell Swan medical evacuation. They go to tribal council and nobody gets voted out. And so it is a long pre-merge that has, a few sleepy episodes.
Yeah. People talk so much love for the Australian Survivor, but the act of going to tribal council and then not having to vote somebody off, they do that. And I think that sucks. It's just a waste of anything. Yeah. It's just like to build up, to have the tribal council to then not do anything about it.
Even
I think
JLP
you should be penalized.
Calls it blue balls.
He does. RIP. Yeah, I did not have this on my list,
And
but
then,
I
of
do
course,
remember.
it gets, very exciting,
Yes.
8-4. And then, you have everything with the comeback and, certainly an exciting conclusion to the season. So I have it at number 6 as basically an honorable mention for me. It sounds like it's not, if it's not on your list, sounds like it's not going to make the cut.
I don't think so, but now I'm interested. It was definitely in. I actually have a list of honorable mentions that are even beyond my 6. It is in there, but it did
Okay.
not make my top 6.
Okay.
But now
All
we're
right.
going 5-1.
Okay. All right. So should I go again with number 5?
Go again.
Okay.
Snake draft.
All right. So with my number 5, we've talked about it already a couple times on this podcast. I'm going to say Survivor Co-Wrong.
Oh, there you go. Interesting. Not on mine. Tell me about it.
Okay, so it's a season where we have some ugliness. I mean, I think that there's some staples here of check marks of things that we want to say are in our slow season. So we have some ugliness. Alicia Holden with Scott and Jason, or is it Kyle? And there's some an unfortunate they're picking on her there. You also have, the beast mode cowboy medical evacuation. I just think that it's not super memorable to me. And then ultimately it culminates. I know it's we're talking about a slow start. You're like, okay, we get to the merge, and then we have a Neil Gottlieb medical evacuation where we have people getting all of these infections going on. And then I do think then it starts to pick up steam in the second half of the season, but I feel like it's a sleepy start in Co Wrong.
It's a sleepy start. I think that
one tribe never goes to tribal council,
yes.
Yeah.
Which I think that because it is sleepier, given that you have Matt Singh in season 25, and then the Luzon tribe, the Brains in 28, are more exciting of the quote unquote disaster tribes. We talked about this on Chat BCC, which is a plug. If you're not on Chat BCC, go for it. With the Braun tribe in season 32 is that they are losing, but it's just they're not as fun and chaos ridden as your Matt Singh, which are they're laughing with you rather than laughing at you. You feel like some, I don't know, camaraderie there with the two other losing tribes in the 3-tribe format. But yeah, the Braun tribe just kind of ugly and not as fun. And then I don't think there's much to say also about the only other tribe that loses before they swap, which is the Brains with Liz Markham. She leaves. I don't think that was anything to write home about.
And I think that, you have Debbie there, and Debbie is at least makes it a little novel, a little exciting.
Yeah, well, what's interesting already with our 2 lists is I think that you are, it's funny that you mentioned the medical evacuations and the ugliness, which is not what you want to watch from Survivor, but I think it is something to watch. Whereas I think a lot of the seasons that are on my list, really nothing happens. There's not even a thing to point to. It's oh, this is the reason why it wasn't fun to watch. These are just it's just, if you, regular Survivor that isn't there's not a lot going on.
Matt says the Jenny boot in episode 2 was crazy. I definitely disagree, guys. Yeah, we did a live know-it-alls for that one. Penner was there.
Yes, she did stand on the chair in the tribal council, and I don't think was going to go home that night, which is not a lot of people do that in Survivors. They make their case for them to leave at tribal council. So that's interesting. Yeah, that is again not in my top 5, but I can hit you with my 5.
Yeah, what is your 5?
My 5 is the first new era entrant that we're discussing, which is Survivor 43.
43.
Survivor 43. Reason being, I think the pre-merge in particular of Survivor 43 is, you can't point to anything in my head of that is something that we're still talking about today. I think that the thing that people reference from the pre-jury portion of Survivor 43 is at the merge when Gabler, the fake merge, when Gabler's by throwing out Ellie's name, I'm throwing out Ellie's name. I think that that tribe, the yellow tribe, Baka, is the only tribe that I think is super interesting that they kind of build out because they're obviously important for the later game. But they only go to tribal council the one time. So you're with the red tribe, Vessi, which I think is pretty uninteresting, with love to our friends that are on that tribe, as well as the blue tribe is interesting-ish, but not fun. I think you just kind of have 5 rounds of regular Survivor where a lot of the there is interpersonal conflict, but it's not super compelling. And a lot of the content that you're getting, it's early new era too. So it's a lot of beware advantages and the beads and all that fun stuff, which
Yeah.
I say all that fun stuff, meaning it's not as fun.
All right, here's my question to you, Brandon.
Please.
But did it get good?
I do think it got good. I think that we are underrating Survivor 43 in that, again, if you watch Survivor 43 as I did in the fall of 2022, as it's the Jesse Lopez show for the, that back half, I think that's a good season of Survivor. I think that you have a Kim Spradlin-esque run in Jesse, but with the auxiliary characters being a little bit more fun than they were in a One World or Redemption Island with Rob. I think that you do have that. And then, yes, is it at the 11th hour, not the season that we all thought it was going to be? Of course. But I do think it's from maybe 8 from the Noel boot on. I think that is very objectively good Survivor. I will stand by the 43 hate is overhated. Shout out to Owen.
I'm not super down on it. I feel like that it turns out fine. And obviously the Jesse move to vote out Cody is masterful. Probably maybe the best New Era episode. I think that might be another fun podcast to do of actual like 42 or now 61 minutes of television. And so that is very fun and iconic. I just don't know if the whole stretch run really brings it.
I do think that it is, again, compared to the other seasons that I have, this is, again, my 5th favorite. I do like it more than Caramoan. I like the Endgame, but I do stand by that this does get good. And I think the difference between the Justine boot, the NECA boot, is so much different compared to the fun that we're getting only, a couple more episodes in. Even the Janine boot, I think, was fun. The Ellie boot was fun. So I stand by that. I do think this does get
the Janine boot was fun.
Wasn't it fun?
Did she give her idol to Dwight? Was that what it was? I'm sorry. Or she
gave it to Jesse, but I think they thought Dwight had it. Is that right? Maybe that's wrong. But then you get the reveal the next episode that Jesse has it, which I think that's fun. I think they were trying stuff that ended up landing too.
I feel like she got voted out 10-1 or something like that.
I know I do remember Owen being the only other person I think that voted not her, but I do think I stand by it. I think it's great. And I am curious to see if you have any New Era on your list because I think that's go ahead.
Yes,
I think too the 43 you're kind of getting settled into what the New Era is, and I think that does give a little bit more fatigue. Just because it is it's the same thing. Whereas I think in other times where there was, 2 seasons back to back that were relatively similar, we do get a third different thing, whereas we're getting the third same thing, which I think does add to it kind of flatlining for me.
Okay, so we had no overlap so far between the 4 seasons we've talked about, but I'm wondering if maybe we're going to get into that territory here. I'm going to go with a little bit of a throwback. I'm going to go back of the furthest back of any season that we've talked about so far. I'm going to say a season that was a season where a lot of times we're talking about one tribe is winning, one tribe is losing, and this was truly a season of haves and have-nots. I'm going to say Survivor Fiji.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So the season was built around the idea of that we're going to give one tribe this incredible shelter and they're going to have everything. And then the other tribe or the other camp, whoever loses the challenge, will have to go live in a real hellhole. But we didn't really think this through because the tribe that has the great shelter is going to continue to dominate all of the challenges. And so one tribe is going to, and it is a tribe that has, some likable people on it, like Earl, like Yowman. So there is something, and it's actually the tribe that's winning all the time that's more unlikable. This is a little bit of sort of the inverse of Caramoan, where you're spending time, you really come to love some of these people that are going to tribal council over and over and over again, and they become your favorites, and you're watching them, you're spending a lot of time with them, and you're enjoying that, as opposed to Caramoan, where you're spending a lot of time with a group, and it's hard to find a rooting interest.
Yes.
Is Reynolds my guy?
This is, spoiler alert, my number 4 also. So we are lockstep with Fiji. And I echo many of the same things. Also, I wrote, for each of the things that are on my list, I wrote the first couple of boots down, which are, in order. Spoiler alert for Fiji. You have Jessica, Erica, Sylvia, Gary is medevac. You have Liliana, Rita, whatever. It's not Liliana.
The person who I think goes the furthest into a Survivor season, and I know nothing about.
That's exactly why is like how often does that happen in Survivor, where that's happened with Liliana, but also about a lot of the folks that I've named. There are, I think about Palau, where a tribe is losing over and over again. But I feel like I knew something about Kim Mullen and I know Jeff Wilson, but I knew nothing from this group.
Yeah. And that's a season, though, where you were seeing something that you never saw before in Palau. So I feel like that was not a season. Like, that was one of the rare seasons where one tribe is just like keeps losing, and it was interesting. You wanted to tune in every single week to see if they could keep the streak up. It's like watching the Jets. It's like, can they do it? Can they go 0-17?
Wasn't Jeff Wilson? Was that somebody that was on the Jets? That's a football player.
Zach Wilson was on the Jets. Yes.
Wouldn't that have been so cool if we pulled that out? That would have been what a reference. But I echo the same thing, and the have versus the have-nots. We even see now in the new era, they're not calling it that, but that's essentially what a couple of these seasons have turned into, and it's not fun.
And then we also have a swap, and then in the swap, we end up with some of like the unsavory characters like sort of end up together. So even like post swap, it ends up being not super great, where Rocky is still with Anthony, and now he has like some more bros with him and are still being mean to Anthony.
Yeah.
He's not home from school.
Yeah, a bummer of a season. And really, like, it's unfortunate that all of that happens to Anthony, but it does make granted, Rocky is voted out before the why don't we vote off Edgardo of it all. But it makes that moment all the more sweeter that you're seeing the Rocky associates get beat in the game that they've now had so much success in.
And then once you get to the merge, you do get some juice going on with the Four Horsemen, and then ultimately getting them to, flush their idol. And so there is some excitement there. And then your mileage may vary, no pun intended, on the Dreams Yao-Man car saga.
Yeah, I mean, that's like good. That's like what Survivor, it's so funny. I see people throw out the phrase like on Reddit or on TikTok, like that this isn't what Survivor is. But even though we have a car, which is not always often what Survivor is, like the interpersonnel conflict that generates
what Survivor is.
Like they'll cite things that are happening in the new era of like the dice or the advantages or the journeys or whatever. And it's like that. Agreed, because what is Survivor is, even though we have this secondary object, much like an advantage, right? That causes interpersonal conflict that you're never going to get from just the rolling the dice and losing a vote for whatever round.
Yeah. Survivor is about interpersonal conflict. And I think that that's in the DNA of the show. And there are moments in Survivor history that are ugly and are things that, people might have wished that they would have behaved differently, but that's why we watch.
That's why it's good. That's why a couple of the seasons that are on here, like I can't say, actually, I shouldn't say that too soon, but I think like Survivor 43 is an example of it does have interpersonal conflict, but nothing that is like particularly, you're not tuning back in to watch that interpersonal conflict. Whereas like, you're tuning back in to see what happens with that car the week after. That was two separate episodes. That wasn't all in the finale, the car.
I'm trying to remember of how it was. I think so. I think that the promise gets made in the episode prior, and then in the next episode is when Dreams is supposed to deliver on the promise and then does not.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, and then again, it's such a departure from the first half of the season where you are getting these folks that are there. I'm sure they're lovely. I mean, they're cast on Survivor, so they have a story to tell, but they never get to tell it. The only Sylvia is, I think, the only person out of those first 7 boots that I could tell you anything about. She said orthogonal, I think, which like Andy said in the 47.
Yeah, but that we thought that Andy did that as a shout out to Sylvia, but I think that is just how Andy talks.
It is true. It did make me laugh. There was somebody, I was at a finale party that night, and the person who was next to me was like, did he just say that Sylvia used that? I said, I hope he knew. I hope he wanted to throw that out there. But he should have lied and just said that he did. It's better to say that that was like an Easter egg, but
it might have been like in the lead up to Survivor 50. So he might have just been trying to lower his threat level, and maybe it was, and he didn't want people to think he was like knew too much about Survivor.
Yeah, nobody's taking a confessional from the olden day or something from the olden day and trying to say it again on the new Survivor. I think you could get away with it if it's something super niche. I don't think anybody's doing it. They're
You
not
think somebody
casting
should
folks
do
to do
that?
it.
I think that's the kind of stuff that you do if you want to be truly despised by the fan base. The more, this is the thing, and I've like with this fan base in particular, the
Yeah.
more you try to win the approval of this fan base, the more you want to try to be like deep cut, desperately try to be liked, the more people will hate you. And if you want to be truly loved by this fan base, don't care about them at all.
I hear that. I do think orthogonal is a different word to work
Do
in
you
than
think
doing
Courtney
like
Yates is gonna memorize an old quote to drop in a confessional?
I think old quote is bad. I think like orthogonal is the level that you want to be at, to where it's like there's 10 people that are going to get it and they're going to laugh at it. You don't want to do, if you go on mentioning like, I don't know, whatever, the dead grandma, I think that's a net negative for you. I do agree with that take, but I think you get in I don't know what orthogonal means, but you get right in the orthogonal spot.
I believe not parallel.
Not parallel. Our lists so far have not been orthogonal, although they were that just this last round.
Just this last one.
I should skip to my 3.
Yeah, go to 3.
That's right. So I did some research before we did this, and I was Googling around, and this season is contentious in terms of, is the pre-merge boring or not? I could not tell you anything about it from the first couple of episodes, and maybe that's on me as a super fan of Survivor, but Micronesia, season 16, I have here in the third spot. Because, again, much like Caramoan, do you have some stars on the favorites tribe? You do. Not even the stars that go far. You have your Tracy's, who I love and should have been back for a second, third time. You have Kathy Sleckman, who is, an interesting Survivor character, as is Chet. I see that, but I don't think you get the essence of them in the first 4 episodes, where you're spending it with, your Marys and your Mikey B's. The thing that I think hurts the season the most too is, I think, and not to contrast with Survivor 45, which I was present for, but I think ending the first episode in a quit does like stifle the beginning of the season. Whereas I think that this season, the episodes that followed the Survivor 45 premiere, sans the third Sabaya Wax Idol episode, I think those episodes were not good. I think they were bad. As opposed to, I think the Micronesia episodes were just like, we get stifled as a quit, which is not great. And the episodes following are boring.
I don't love this one on the list. I think that I see your point that it's not necessarily the best that Survivor has to offer. And I do think it's a long pre-merge also. Yes. But I think that there is some very memorable stuff there. And again, your mileage may vary on Joel and Chet, as Caden says in the chat. Then, it is a long slog in the pre-merge. I mean, I guess I don't hate it. But there are some vote flips also. It's not necessarily like it's totally boring, where that, yes, the fans go to a lot of tribal councils, and Mikey B goes home and Mary goes home, but also like Joel flips on Mikey B to end up like, there's a few like swings, like Tracy Hughes Wolf is playing. And while there's not a lot of memorable stuff, there's also, Kathy is going to have her like psychological evacuation. Penner is going to get hurt. I do think that there is some stuff here. So, as I'm talking it through, it goes on a while. I feel like that there's a long, we just had Amy on the podcast, but when it's the Amy, Ozzy, Amanda, Eric, Tracy, Chet, like they go to a couple tribal councils, and that's not exactly riveting, that part of it. And it does get really good after the merge. I just feel like that there's something there.
Even just, hearing you say the things. Yes.
And I will say, and I think my biggest point for why it's good is episode 3 to me is a iconic episode when we see the fight between Penner and Suri, which really just goes on and on and on. It happens at the camp, it happens at tribal council, where Suri is in the middle, she is flipping to the other side, and Penner is not going to go down without a fight.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ones like I used to always have,
we had a deal.
I used to have the Survivor channel on, I ran into him on the street not too long ago.
Penner.
Like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Yeah. He was I was in the East Village. He was doing a film festival. He was on the red carpet. He was like, I don't know, hosting, moderating, something. But it was a couple weeks after we had done that thing for the season 48 premiere that we saw. Yes. I never had met him until that day. So I was fresh enough in his head where I felt comfortable going to say hi. And he did that. He did the voice just then. He said, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Hey, you're the guy.
Never mind. That's a different story. Yeah, we had a great time. But yeah, I mean, that is, I used to have the Survivor channel on Paramount Plus that plays 24/7 Survivor. I used to have it on all the time while I was working. I no longer do. It's a much more fun thing to have on when you don't work in the Survivor space. And now it's too much. Bob Ross is a better background thing to have on. Regardless, this is something that is, well, maybe not that. This is something that I wish I maybe had the time to revisit, just all of Micronesia, because it's a controversial take. Like I said, on Reddit, people are very split whether this is boring or not. But in my recollection, I do not remember a ton from it, whereas I remember so much from the merge on. So whether it makes the final list, who's to say? But
if anything, I think it might be just outshone by the second half of the season. Like the second half of the season is so good. By comparison, I think it makes the first half of the season seem bad, when I think the first half of the season is just fine.
Fine. Yeah, I hear that. I definitely hear that.
Okay. All right.
Not on yours.
Let me go to my number 3 season. And my number 3 season is a season that I did go back and rewatch a year ago. And it was the 10-year anniversary of this season. And we went back to go revisit Survivor San Juan del Sur. And while there certainly are moments from Survivor San Juan del Sur, it is, I feel like, not super exciting. You do have the Ballad of Drew Christie, which is a great episode number 4 of that season. But overall, you've got John Rocker, you've got, the Coyopa tribe. It's not super exciting over there, with all due respect to Dale and Wes and Alec Christie, Baylor and Jacqueline, so it's hard to find a real like rooting interest there. Jeremy is sort of like doing his best over there. Even Kelly, who goes on to become such a legend, does not really get a lot of face time in Survivor San Juan del Sur. Natalie is very quiet in the first half of the season. And in the real time, people were very down on this in the first half of the season.
Yes. Not to spoil again, but it's my number 2. I have even more points to further.
Go for it.
Sir. Being that I think that this does suffer, given that we just did the same theme a year ago with people that we know. I think that it is interesting to see loved ones that Survivor contestants rather, that you're familiar with, battling against their loved ones. But I think it's inherently more interesting to see people that you don't know, couples, father and son, whatever, playing with each other, just because you don't have anything, you don't know their relationship. You don't know them. So I think that makes the entire season with new people suffer a little bit. But I think we're also coming off of Cagayan, which is, even then, I mean, you were there, as was I online, like it is what people consider the best season in however long. So I think that the first couple episodes being just unremarkable is what I wrote in my notes, like fine. I also think it's so funny that you mentioned with Samoa and the color palette. It's raining, it's very gray. I think of this season as just being, I think Nicaragua might just be like where they filmed it. It's just like gray. It's not, it doesn't pop. I think
it's
the
very
colors
rocky.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very, like in my head, I can see, there's the thing where you can like see numbers and colors or what have you. I feel like I have that for Survivor seasons. And this one is like, it's gray. So not as fun. And then I think you are also getting a disaster tribe. You have the orange tribe, which I guess is Coyopa. Is that right? They lose 3 out of the first 4.
And Coyopa.
Yes. They lose the first 4, and it's, relatively unremarkable. Again, and it gets so good. It gets really, really good at the end. But I think the first couple episodes are just fine.
Yeah. I think that's a good point about that they went back to the well so quickly. And they did that also with Brains versus Beauty versus Brawn, where they had it in 28 and then went right back to it in 31. And then you have here where it's season 27 is Blood versus Water. And they really loved it when it worked in Survivor 27, that they were so quick to go back to it. And then I think that in the real time, I feel like that Jeff and company realized that, no, we don't like this, because they were so quick to try to move on to season 30.
Yeah. Yeah. Even I remember that. I mean, in the real time, I remember that. And I do think there is something to be said of like, when you do a theme like that, like it does work better to have folks that you recognize to onboard them. Granted, I thought for a long time that 41 on, I thought they were just going to do Brains, Brawn, Beauty all the time. And that just like, that's just how Survivor would be in the new era. So you have
It's like Australian Survivor.
Yes. I had always anticipated maybe they just lock in with that. And they never did, just because it's easy and it's easy to identify people. Whereas something that is a big swing, a couple of weeks ago on the know-it-alls, you talked about, how 49 should have been a big swing, like a 39, and they didn't do that. Like, I think this is the same thing where it is a big swing of a theme, but if the cast doesn't hit the same, which I don't think it does, it is just kind of tough to sit through. And again, I think there is something to be said. I just said about like, I love like Josh and Reed seem great on the show, but I don't know their dynamic. So when they're separated and talking about each other, like when I see Rupert switch places with Laura in the first 10 minutes, I feel that because I know Rupert.
And you got some interesting stuff in the post-merge, and again, while it speaks to the post-merge, where you got to see John and Jacqueline's relationship, and they have like this big couple spat while they're on the island. They're not talking to each other, and Reed needs them to work together, and they're not talking to each other. And then you have everything with Baylor and Missy and like their dynamic and how that works. And so Wes and Keith also. So there were some interesting relationships for the people that survived the first half of the game, but having them separated. And then also everybby who listens to the podcast knows I love Mike White. Everybody knows that. And Jeff famously, instead of having Redemption Island on this season, spoke with Mike White. And Mike White said, Redemption Island, don't do that. So then we kind of have like this nothing burger hero arena also in the first half of San Juan del Sur. Again, 42-minute episode. We don't have all the time in the world. And we spend like 7-8 minutes on like, oh, who's going to win the right to send somebody to Exile Island in these episodes. And so there's really not a lot of excitement that comes out of Hero Arena.
Is the Hero Arena the Redemption Island arena from season 22? Do we know that?
Was it the same thing? I have no idea if it's the same locale.
I never thought that before, but it looks in my head thinking about it without having seen either in a couple years. It feels the same. And it feels like the same structure. But yeah, this is one that, again, it gets really, really great. But it is not one that I would recommend you start.
Okay. All right. Brandon, it's time for me to give you my number 2.
Yes. And then we each have yes. So you have a number 2 and then I have a number 1 because you gave your number 1.
Okay. I've already revealed my number 1, which was Caramoan. So my only season that I have not talked about yet is a season that I feel like that you said is not on your list. And that's season 46.
Season 46. Please, because yes.
We're down bad in Survivor 46, and that may have been the time that the fan base was as down about Survivor as I can ever recall. And of course, we actually had a great premiere of Survivor 46, and we had Jelinski and all of the excitement that came out of that. But things really turned the next week where we had a 2-hour nobody knows why.
Yeah.
A 2-hour episode 2 of Survivor 46. So the 90-minute episodes had only been here for one season, for your season 45. And then they said, hey, guess what? Episode 2 is also going to be 2 hours long. And we spent 2 hours on an episode where I know Jess Chong got voted out. we had a episode where very long immunity challenge, which was interesting, of like putting the blocks up and holding them up. But ultimately, we end up with Jess getting voted out. And then we begin the real Ballad of Banu. And it becomes so dire for Banu. And he is begging, please, Tiffany, save me. Nobody wants to work with this guy. It is so not fun. Meanwhile, we're like, okay, finally, all right, let's just like put Banu out of his misery. But frickin' Randon slept on his arm wrong, gets medically evacuated for sleeping the wrong way. And then we don't even go to tribal council in episode number 3. And then we have to come back and do it all again in episode 4. And then we get, a perfectly fine episode in episode 5 where Siga goes to tribal council, Jem gets voted out. So it really, when I'm talking it through, like episode 1 was great. Episode 5 was fine, but it gets so good after that. But we got so in the mud with Banu. I wonder if like these longer episodes really sometimes when Survivor, it makes Survivor worse than if it was shorter. If it was shorter and he says, okay, that's fine, I'm moving on. But the fact that they keep you there sometimes for so long.
Yes. I remember we did the 17th place roundtable was the club condo after season 46 episode 2, and 2 hours. I think it may have been you who was like, you can really feel it. You can feel the 2 hours. However, I will say, and I think I said it earlier, like I left every episode of this intrigued about what was going to happen the next week. And I think that the mass discuss, we both saw it. Like people were very down, but I think down is an emotion that I would get. Like it's not slow if it's down.
But we're fans. That's short for fanatics. We're emotional. And people were really, really sour on 46. And then it got so good. And I've said this before. It's my favorite season of the new era. I think it gets so exciting by the end, the whole rest of the way. And so to come out of the dip and then to skyrocket and then have like this really exciting post-merge where everybody goes home with these idols and everything with, Charlie and Maria, like all the way to the end. I do feel like that it is the epitome of a season with a slow start that gets really good.
I see that. I definitely see. I think I went, again, for my number 1, I went an opposite way from, I'm so surprised you don't have my number 1 on your list. But I think I went the opposite, but it's a testament to this is like a fun thought exercise of like, I don't think of that being slow at all because there's so much emotion that was inflicted from it. I think they're not fun. I think they're bad episodes of Survivor, but I don't think they're slow as opposed to just like a nothing.
Okay. So tell me, Brandon, you have a number 1 on your list that did not even make my top 6. And so I am dying to know, what in the world could it be?
So I love this season so much. One of my favorites in my top 3. I would say my favorite winner of Survivor of all time won this season.
You already said 43.
We just talked to Amy Cusack. You just talked to Amy Cusack, who is 6th place on Survivor Vanuatu. Survivor Vanuatu, I think the first 5 episodes are nothing. Nothing happens. It is Brooke, it's Dolly, it's JP, it's Mia and Brady. People.
It's double episode, I believe, with
double
Mia.
episode. To be fair, people talk about. I've seen that. I've been so disgusted with the Sage, Shannon, Sophie. They don't look the same. They are totally independent of one another. Have you met Brooke, JP, and Brady Finta? That's the same guy.
Well, I would say that my bigger issue was John P and John K, which was more of an issue. Brooke, I don't think looks like those guys.
He doesn't look like, but they're just. I think they are personality-wise even just more. I mean, maybe Brooke is different than the other 3, but yeah, John Paylock, John Kenny, Brady Finta, very similar. But I think this is, again, you get some interpersonal conflict with the women, with Dolly, can't decide which side she's on and then gets voted out.
That was a good
It
episode.
was a good episode. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You have Chris can't get across the balance beam. They get the majority. So then it's kind of
Yeah.
a slaughter for the.
What about post-swap?
Post-swap, I think is still not great, but it's better. You have the Bubba. You have Amy.
Rory's going to burn the camp down.
It's great.
Bubba says, think about the merge.
I agree that those things are good, but then I think the swing is so high towards the end game that I think it is like watching a different season. And again, everybody that gets cast on Survivor,
Julie gets Sarge to take his pants off.
I think they're great. I think, I think that you have 4 episodes before pre-swap. I think are really, really
pre-swap.
Tough to get through.
I hear that.
You start the upswing, and then once Rory goes, I think you're off to the races, and I think it's the best, one of the best Survivor finishes ever, maybe top 5. But I think those first 4 are just like, that is to me the most reminiscent of where we are with Survivor 49. Given like
in what way?
Kind of like you have the fatigue, right? You have in season 9 of Survivor has the break of All Stars, which is interesting. But now I thought about this with American Idol season 9. 9 is 49. You're with American Idol season 9. It's like, oh, this is just the same thing again. And that's what we're getting with Survivor 49, where it's not bad. It's not inoffensive. It's just like, this is just the same thing. So I feel that fatigue.
Yeah.
And then I think the personalities in season 9 that go out early are not the most dynamic in the world. Like, your Brooks and your JPs are not, people that you're like, oh, I'm going to miss you, which I don't think is necessarily the same for 49. But I think that the difference that you get from the early 9 to the end of 9 is like unlike anything else in Survivor in terms of starting slow. I think 46, Hundo P hear the vast difference in quality, but I think 46 just starts off bad.
Yeah. I think that one of the issues with this season that we're currently in, 49, and some of these other seasons, is that it is very predictable. I think that if you were going to like poll the audience outside of the first week, who's going home tonight? I think probably like 90% of people say like Annie, trashy Annie is going home. Sure. And then the Jake Snake thing was a surprise, but then also was like heavily promoted in the commercials. So it was like, okay, is Jake gonna get medically evacuated or not? But either way, Jeremiah is definitely going home. Yes. And then this week, I guess there was a little bit of intrigue to start, but then it did feel like, okay, I guess it's a coin flip between Matt and Jason, which we are not particularly invested in. It feels very much like that if either seems like that Shannon is going to go home or Jason is going to go home. So there has not been a lot of like variance or unpredictability in, and nobody has really flipped on anybody so far in this new season. It's been very much by the numbers.
Yes. I'm forgetting. In season 43, I think that's maybe the most similar to season 43. I mean, am I forgetting a crazy vote flip with Justine, Nneka, or Lindsay?
I think that there was Dwight was on the wrong side. I think that did Jesse flip his numbers of that? Did he think that on the vote where Justine went home, did Dwight get kind of caught up there?
I'm forgetting. It sounds vaguely familiar to me, but I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that, I don't think that the 49 has happened exactly the way that it is. As I agree with that. The votes are pretty. I think that about season 45 as well. Like you go into, episode 2 and it is only one of 2 people, and then you go into episode 3 and it is again only one of 4 people, which does not make for fun.
All right. So now here's where the rubber's going to meet the road. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to figure out how do we get our list down to the actual 6. Okay. Yeah. My 6 was Samoa, Caramoan, Fiji, San Juan del Sur, 46, Caramoan. Your 6 was Caramoan, 43, Fiji, Micronesia, San Juan del Sur, Vanuatu. Okay. So let's take Samoa out of this. Take it just completely out of the running. Okay.
Yeah.
It was only my number 6. It wasn't on your list. So Samoa is gone.
Well, I think the same with 43 is not on your list.
Okay.
and is my 5. So we can, I think, ditch 43.
Okay. All right. So probably if Ko Wrong's not on your list, okay, let's forget about that also.
Yes.
Okay. So we both have Caramoan, but you had it as 6 and I had it at 1.
Yeah.
We both have Fiji. We both have San Juan del Sur. And then we have a couple of these outliers in Vanuatu. We have 46 and Micronesia.
I'm writing down and Micronesia. Yeah, I mean, I think, and not to jump to number 1, but I think if San Juan del Sur is our respective 2 and 2, I think that is the number 1.
2 and 3. Okay, so
2 and
all right.
3.
All right, so if we have San Juan del Sur is 1, what would be 2? Would it be
Is it Fiji? Is Fiji's my 4 and then your 3?
So Fiji, it's both of our 4s.
It's both of our 4s.
Okay. Then, all right. The other one that we both have is Caramoan.
Caramoan.
Is that 3?
I think that's 3.
Okay. And then
you have, okay, so then I have an outlier Vanuatu
46. Yeah,
46.
We still have to place 46. We still have to place Vanuatu.
And Micronesia.
Micronesia, if that's, you had it at 3.
I had that, but you know what? I hear the argument for that more than I hear the other 2. So I'm happy to make that the honorable mention 6, Micronesia.
Okay.
I think that makes the most sense.
And then
our 1s should be charted into 4 and 5.
Okay. And then we have 46 and we have also Vanuatu.
Yes.
You would do you have any different opinion on 46?
I hear the 46 argument. I think it is, again, it's us interpreting the assignment in a way. I'm curious if we just polled 100 people, how would they interpret as?
But the 100 people aren't here. This is our list.
It's our list. I stick by, if nothing happens, that's slow rather than that's bad.
Okay. So you feel more solid for Vanuatu?
I feel more solid for Vanuatu, but I don't want to make the decision. I want to hear out your. I think nothing happening, close to nothing. I do hear the Dolly. I'm sorry, who fights Twilight and Mia? That is interesting, but I think it's the most interesting thing out of 4 episodes.
Okay, but again, it's slow. I guess a slow start. I guess is it defined? Is this a pre-merge or is it just pre-swap?
Yeah, well, like a start could be either of those things, but I mean, if we're gonna do pre-merge, I think that there are more highs of the Vanuatu pre-merge post-swap. Well, I do hear the argument the first 5 episodes of 46. Listen, I don't want to bend the knee, but I can hear 46 for 4th place.
I want you to take a stand. I want you to have be strong in your convictions.
I mean, I'm strong. I mean, I think I've stated my conviction is when I hear slow start, I think a start is where we are in the current Survivor season, which is 4 episodes in. Like, I think that's a start. Like, we're doing it this week and not at the end of the post or the pre-merge rather. Okay. So I hear either argument, but I think slow start is what episode are you going to watch and feel the least emotion? I think that's Vanuatu. Which stretch of episodes?
All right. I think that there are, these old school seasons have just longer pre-merges, and so that they can feel a bit sloggier when you're watching a double tribal council where JP and Mia go home.
Sure.
Are you feeling anything?
That.
Are you feeling anything when Lisa Kiefer goes home?
Sure. I do think that was fun because it should have been Rory, and Rory sneaks his way out of it. So I'm a Vanuatu defender. But I hear the argument. I think if you are going to,
All right, so here's our list. Okay, number 6, Micronesia. Number 5, season 46. Number 4, Vanuatu. Number 3, Caramoan. Number 2, Fiji. And the number 1 slowest start in Survivor history is San Juan del Sur.
Love it.
Okay. Any other honorable mentions for you that did not make your list?
Well, I had a couple. Again, assignment was seasons that start slow, get good. I think both Thailand and Heroes, Healers, Hustlers.
I had HHH on my list. I think that HHH does something. I think that there is like a moment where it is, I think, fun in the mid-merge, that there is a point where there's a few, like before Ben starts finding all of the idols, there's a few different things where Ben is like the double agent, and you have where there is the alliance that comes together at the reward challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Dr. Mike throws the thing in the fire.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the JP blindside. People were so excited about the JP blindside. I shouldn't say people. I think like there was an air
part of a 2-hour episode, I think.
Yes, there was an air of like this was such a huge thing, and I remember not feeling much from it. So it's fine, and I think Thailand starts slow, but then never.
Yeah, but it never gets good.
Not fun. Yeah.
Okay, here's the other one I had on my list for honorable mention: Survivor One World.
Does this get good?
Does it get good? That was my thing.
I don't think it's ever good. I think it's
pre-merge. It's a bad, with all due respect to Troy Zan, who we just had on the podcast this week.
We love him.
And it's a bad pre-merge. First episode, Courtney Moon, medevac, and then with a beloved friend Nina Acosta goes out. We also then end up losing. Is the third episode when the men win the challenge and then they give up? They decide to go to tribal council anyway.
You have Matt Quinlan as
the rooster,
and then Bill is that tribal council.
Then Bill, and then also you have the swap. Tarzan has nominal aphasia, and they vote out Monica Culpepper.
Yes, and then Colton gets medevac.
And then a Colton medevac with no tribal council. So I think that really your question is, does it get good? I think that your criteria, if it got good, with all due respect to Kim, I think it would be there. It's a bad pre-merge.
It's a tough one. And it doesn't ever. And there's also like some ugly.
There's
ugliness there.
Some racist moments. You have it all.
It's not very fun. And then I think, is the most exciting part of that season that isn't like a macro Kim dominating is the most exciting moment, the men going to tribal council instead of the women?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's like some like mid-merge intrigue about, what's Kim going to do? There's a little bit of excitement of, are they going to be able to get Troy Zan out? Troy Zan is trying, this is my island, trying to get everybody to flip. Like, I think that there is like a point where it's not a 100% guarantee that Kim has got this thing. There's a little bit of a resistance. So Kim meeting some adversity, I think, is probably the high point.
Yes.
I think probably the best episode might be the Jay Byers vote out.
And this is like, I remember nothing about the Jay Byers vote. I should refresh myself on the Jay Byers vote out.
Yeah, Kim had her people from the swap, but she also had the women's alliance, and then she has to decide ultimately which way to go. She's all about options, Kim.
She's all about options.
Yeah.
There's so many seasons of this show.
It's crazy. People don't know there's actually 49 seasons of U.S. Survivor.
It's
people lose track, but yeah, it's actually 40. There's 49 seasons of the show.
It's so much more than there used to be when I was younger. You know what I mean? They just keep making them.
Yeah.
They took a break, but only for a year.
Yeah. I mean, this is how long that the show has been on, where for a long time, I used to be older than the show, and now in seasons, the show's older than me.
Yeah. You just this most recent birthday, the show's.
Yeah, I started out, I was older than the show, but then the show got older than me.
Yeah. Nuts.
Yeah.
The show's been older than me.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how, like, I used to know the ins and outs of all these, and over time, I've just forgotten. They've gone away. I think my sweet spot is like between 7 to 30. I think I know everything. After that, I think I'm out.
What was wrong with 6?
You know what? Can I tell you what's wrong with 6? Is because 6
your parents
wasn't ever on. What's that?
Your parents wouldn't let you watch it.
They would. They.
That's what my kids say.
It's almost time. That'll be a great podcast. 6 wasn't on DVD. Because before the age of the YouTube, like, you had to get the seasons that were on DVD, which were 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There was a DVD, but it was called Too Hot to Handle. You had to call a
Sure.
special number to get the DVD of Survivor on the Amazon.
I didn't watch it live. I didn't get that commercial.
They only put like commercials for it like on late night TV.
Sure. I was too young.
It's the wildest Survivor season yet.
That's lost to history.
Mhm.
Do you know they made DVDs of your? You know this. I don't know why I'm asking you if you know this. They made DVDs of your show that were like promotional DVDs that you could get like a Honda dealership. Do you know about that?
Yes. Yeah, I do know about that. So it was a Saturn dealership, and you got to go and see like audition footage and like the B-roll and like EPK footage from that we filmed like pregame interviews. Nowadays, Mike Bloom just goes to Fiji and they just put it all on YouTube. Back in 2002, you had to go test drive a Saturn if you wanted to see the pregame interviews, and they give you a DVD.
Is that now? Do you
I don't
know
even know what DVD means?
Do you have to go? You got to go to the dealership, Hondo Pay. Do you have to act as if you are buying a vehicle, or could I have just gone in and said, "Can I have the Survivor DVD?"
I think that's what I did. I think I went to the Saturn dealership. I'm like, hey, I'm one of the people. Like, I'm on the show. Can I have the DVD? I don't remember having to test drive a Saturn.
Sure.
There was a Saturn of Wantagh.
If they had you test drive this out, you would have done it?
I would have done it,
for sure.
Yeah. What else did I have to do?
That would have been great. It would have been fun to test drive.
And the Saturn Ion was the car that they gave away.
And who won that?
Mateo.
Oh, Mateo. Yeah, you went on the reward.
Yes, and Jenna also got a Saturn Ion.
Jenna also got it. Did you want a Saturn Ion?
Survivor Marquesas got a Saturn View SUV.
Yes. What were you driving in 2002 when the show was on?
Acura RSX.
I'm gonna Google that.
Which was kind of a nice car, but it was my boss.
Oh, wow.
My boss leased it for me as a company car. I was driving a 1986 Ford Taurus prior to that, and my boss, as like a perk at my job, leased me a Acura RSX.
I don't think anybody's doing that anymore, leasing their employees' cars.
I'm not
unless you
that.
Like have a. You're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But what color? You driving blue?
It was black.
Black.
Yeah.
You Google it, the blue ones come up. Blue ones are pretty lit.
Mm-hmm. Right, Elizabeth Hasselbeck?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. All right. There you go. There's our top 6 times a Survivor started off slow. There you go. By the way, speaking of Survivor the Amazon, I got a lovely birthday message from Butch Lockley.
Stop it. How was it?
Yeah, good. It was beautiful. Yeah.
What did he say?
Very good. Let me see. Without revealing too much, let me just share. He was, I think, making fun of my advanced age.
Sure.
Let's see.
Are you getting a voice message or you're getting a text?
No. He sent me. He said, "Damn, another year has gone by. I'm trying to figure out your age. 24 on the show at 21 years. And well, you're getting old. LOL, LOL. Walmart has a sale on Depends and also Canes. Pretty soon you'll be on Flomax. Don't ask how I know, except for the Depends."
It's a long text.
Yeah. And he goes on. Yeah.
Good for him. Is he Team iPhone, Butch?
It seems like it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Some people aren't.
We've got everything coming up this week. Back at it with Survivor Know-It-All. Stephen Fishback and I will get into everything on Wednesday night. And then, of course, on Thursday, we'll have your exit interview. We'll also get into it with Star.
Who is lovely, who's been, I've heard her on a podcast or two. I did a podcast with Star while you were gone, and she is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I had to hold myself together. She at one point got Mike Bloom and Mike White confused. She said Mike Bloom is going to do great on Survivor 50 with the other Day vs. Goliath people. I said that's different, but
this is
she'll be phenomenal.
I'm so excited for this. And then also we will have our old school interview with Sydney and everything else is Survivor Q&A, Club Condo.
And we'll have patron stuff coming as well. Just keep an eye on the patron feed for more fun stuff that we'll do there. That's only for you if you're a patron. It's not for anybody else.
That's right.
For you.
Okay. All right. And there we go. All right. So thank you so much for joining us here for the 6 times Survivor started off slow. Hopefully business is about to pick up. Take care. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.